If you're thinking of starting a social media and you don't know where to start, my advice would be figure out, who are you? Who are you? Your personality. What is it? What do people respond to the most and the best? Let's say you're sitting with your friends. What do people love the most about you? Is it your fashion style? Is it the way you do makeup? Is it the jokes that you crack? Identify those things. Like, what is it about you that makes you unique? Because believe me, there are things about you that are really unique. People will think you're cringe if you think you're cringe. Make sure that your content is a reflection of who you are. It's a lot more likely that you will succeed if your personality is there. See what you're all about. That's what people are interested in. People are really interested in people. Hello and welcome to this week's CATAMANIA Socials, coming at you from home, wearing my workout gear. That's not gear. My workout outfit that is literally covered in cat fur because I have a cat. I'm excited to chat with you. Even though this isn't a chat, this is like literally a monologue. I'm talking to a camera. This is very interesting, actually. I do have to say, like, I'm good with cameras. I'm good with being on camera. But I struggle with doing solo sodes because I'm like, wow, I'm rambling for, I'm gonna try to make this quick because I don't want to ramble for too long. But I do prefer talking to people. I really do. I love the whole interview style thing. But you guys really love these solo sodes, and I am way overdue for one. And I thought this would be a good opportunity for me to take you through my masterclass, if I can call it that. Like that company masterclass, that is, the masterclass company, the educational company. Anyways, taking you through the tips that I have learned over the last few years of being in social media if you want to embark on the journey of social media, specifically Instagram, because that's the platform I'm most familiar with. I'm going to take you through a little bit of my journey, some of the stories that I have, and also give you some tips and things that hopefully will help you if you want to go down the path of being, whether it's an influencer or developing a page for a brand, anything that is related to having a presence on social media. Let's go. So as you guys know, I have a background in no social media. This is going really well. So far, this podcast episode is going really well. English left the building already, and we are struggling to speak. But I'll try my best to remember how to speak English. I also poured myself a glass of wine, by the way, for this episode. But I'm also realizing now that I can't be drinking this while I'm recording a solo episode. When I have an interview style podcast, that's one thing, because then I actually have a break in speaking. I don't really have a break in speaking here, so this isn't going to work. I'm going to have a sip, okay? Cheers. I don't drink that much, but red wine, a glass of red wine in the evening is really good. So let me have a sip. Oh, that's good. I'm not going to make you listen to my sipping of beverages because that would be weird, especially if you're listening to this as an audio. Anywho, let's talk about social media. And let's go back to a bit of my story. Many of you know that I used to work in a very conventional corporate setting. I was definitely, the corporate boss babe, or at least aspiring corporate boss babe. And I really did enjoy that era of my life. I really did. I'm not going to lie to you. I was working in governing regulatory field, doing primarily by, especially closer to the end of my career there, audits. So I was auditing. Who loves audit? People love auditors, right? Like it was fun. It was really fun. But I did enjoy my time there. Of course, I worked a lot. It was hard work. And, I did see that maybe there was something that needed to change in my life because I didn't feel like 100, this is going to sound so cheesy, but like I didn't feel like my full potential was fully, out into the world. Like I felt like there was like a fire burning inside of me that just audits weren't allowing it to burn. Audits were like, oh, I'm like hitting the microphone here. Audits were being an auditor, it was extinguishing the flame when extinguishing the fire when I needed. See how wonderful I am at speaking with like metaphors. I was trying to make this a really like dramatic metaphor for you guys to relate to, but you know what I mean. I felt like there was something else I had to try and something else I had to do. And again, I didn't have a quintessential story of I hated my life. My life was miserable. Corporate, like, oh, corporate jobs are the worst. Like, I didn't have that story because as far as corporate jobs go, mine was actually kind of good. Like, it was decent. I kind of liked what I was doing. I didn't love every minute of it. It was, obviously a lot of moments of, well, why am I doing this? Why is this so stressful kind of thing, right? But not nearly as bad as I hear some people had it in the corporate world or have it in the corporate world. It really wasn't that bad. I didn't mind it. I enjoyed going to work. I had really great coworkers. The company was good. And we just, I really enjoyed it. Especially the social aspect of it. But yes, I did have this sense that there's something else I need to do. There's something else I need to try. I do want to say before I move on from that point that it just hit me that maybe one of the reasons why I also didn't particularly feel like I didn't hate my life when I was working in the corporate was because I was just genuinely grateful to be where I was in life then. As many of you know, I'm an immigrant. I moved to Canada by myself. And to me, working in the corporate world in Canada was actually quite an achievement. I'm not going to lie to you. And I noticed that many other immigrants had the same view. They had the same feeling towards it. They were just grateful that they were working, making, money in Canada. And they they just were appreciative of it. And I feel like that ties even to the whole thing of, I'm sure you guys have heard of how baby boomers were a lot more grateful for, having a career in the corporate world than, for example, like millennials, my generation is, because we have so many more opportunities and so many more things. And we haven't really experienced hardship nearly to the level of, let's say, baby boomers' parents, right? Like post World War II babies. So for them, just to have a job where they could earn a living, provide for their families, that was like more than enough. But our generation came in and we're like, damn, this is like so boring. Like to hustle till you're sick. Like, no, we're not doing that. No, absolutely not. Now Gen Z came along and they're like, we're just gonna tear the whole fucking thing off. Like we're not doing any of the shit that y'all have done. Like none of it. Gen Z is a whole other conversation, but you know what I mean. There's good and bad in that, obviously, because I think my generation is a lot more. This is like a total generalization, by the way, but I feel like my generation is a lot more maybe inclined to take risks and go on the journey of entrepreneurship. That's at least kind of what I'm noticing. Like a lot of millennials are far more likely, it seems to me, to take the risks and take those opportunities that are out there just because they are willing to tolerate the risk, right? So there's good in that, but obviously there's also the bad in it, which is, objectively speaking, like many people have decent jobs here and they're not that bad, but we get we allow that to take over our emotions and we get very sad and down and what. Anyways, that was a tangent that I just had this realization when I was saying this. I'm like, listen, I think one of the reasons why I actually didn't even mind the audit, because people would always give me such strange looks when I would tell them what I do or what I did when I was working in the corporate world. They were like, oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear that you audit. And I was like, but I kind of like it. Like, it's not, it's not my dream job, but like, I kind of like it, But COVID hit and it hit me so hard that this whole like security and safety that we've been programmed to believe a job in the corporate world gives you is not really as good as they make it sound. It's not as secure as they make it sound. I should clarify. It's not as secure as they make it sound. Obviously, there's a lot of perks if you're working in the corporate world, which is something that you need to definitely appreciate if you're listening to this and you are working in the corporate world. You have benefits. This is something that is always a big thing that I'm sure people reflect on, and they're like, oh, but you have benefits. Yeah, you have benefits, and it's pretty awesome that you have benefits. You do have an expected paycheck that you know will come in, and you do have, no matter what, a lot of structure in your life, which is actually, it's so those things are really good, and I want you to focus on them and just be grateful for them for a minute if you're working in the corporate world and you're very sad about it. But it is also a bit of a curse, because I can tell you how hard it is when you do decide to step away from that and embark on the journey of entrepreneurship, embark on the journey of doing your own thing, to make your mind not get you, or not to not get used to them, but to break away from that and let go of it, and let go of the fear of not having it. I honestly feel like it just now, I finally am okay with the fact that I don't have benefits. I'm okay with the fact that I don't really have a stable paycheck. One month I can make more than another. Sometimes I have an abundance of brand deals and everything is going really well. Another month it's like, oh, brand deals are like kind of, so it's a balance, and it's risky because you don't have fixed income, right? But it's very, very hard to let go of how used you are, how accustomed you've become, English honestly has left the building, how accustomed you've become to those things. Again, there's good and bad to it. But honestly, it took me about 2.5, 3 years to finally be like, this is actually very liberating. I don't have to depend on the benefits. I don't have to depend on the fixed income anymore. Because it does suck you in. It really does. It's like that whole thing that the Matrix, I don't want to sound Andrew Tate right now, because I don't want to sound Andrew Tate, but the whole like idea of being inside of it versus like sort of outside of it when you're doing your own thing. It definitely takes a minute to get unused to it. But once you do, you'll be surprised by how good it feels. So, my journey to social media. Wow, I took a really long rant. I promised my husband that in 20 minutes I'm going to go down and make that salad. And I don't think that's going to happen because I've been mumbling. It's surprising how long like one person can be talking to a camera. But without having a script, by the way, I literally was just like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to like just take you through a bit of a journey and give you some tips. I didn't have a plan for this episode. I actually want to talk to you about something else, but then I was like, I'll do it at a later date. So around COVID, closer to the end of COVID, I would say maybe 2021, I did start to feel that I'm a little bit, I just want to try something else. I just want to try something new. And I did feel, because I was working from home, and many of you guys who have been following me for a long time, you know that I am an extrovert through and through. I thrive when I am with people. I get energy when I am meeting new people, when I am going to events. Like, that's my favorite thing to do. Talking to people is my favorite thing. Hence, I started a podcast. And during COVID, when I started to work from home, it was really hard for me because the social aspect of going to work was like no longer there, right? So it's really hard for me. And closer to the end of it, so maybe mid 2021, I started to really think about, what I wanted to be when I grew up. Like that question that I would answer, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I remembered always answering that I wanted to entertain people. Like, I just loved being on stage. I loved performing. I did like singing and like dancing back home when I was younger. I really genuinely enjoyed that. And I can't really say that I've had stage fright. Like, I definitely get nervous when I go on stage, but it's more of like excitement nervous. It's not like, oh my God, what am I gonna say? What am I gonna do? Right? Like, I get very excited about being on stage and having the opportunity to talk to people, or to, I mean, I haven't performed since I was little, but I've given public speeches and I love it. I really, really love it. It's my favorite, one of my favorite things to do. It's okay. Well, I really love that, but it's COVID. So and how, like, what am I going to do now? Like, how am I going to, I used to give speeches through my audit career in the corporate, but that's different. Nobody's going to want to listen to that, right? Especially not through my company that I used to work for, not through my not through my former job, right? So I was like, what is it that I can do to be able to reach people and entertain people? And at that time, I remember I was looking at social media and I wasn't really using it that much. I had an Instagram account, but I was like, I don't know. And I had watched Social Dilemma, which I'm sure many of you have heard about or watched it as well. And I was like, I don't know if this is a good idea. And then I thought to myself, but wait, it all depends on how you use it. So if you could make use of it to do something good, why not? It's actually an amazing way to reach so many more people than you could ever reach otherwise because you have access to so many more people in the world. So I started to put out videos. First, I was like trying to do more fashion focused videos, and they weren't taking off. And one of the reasons why I think, which is one of the tips that I wanted to get into, was I couldn't find a way to show my personality through fashion content. I'm not saying that you can't. I was just having a really hard time doing that. And at the end of the day, people want your personality online. They want you. They want your authenticity. They want to see what you're like. And I just wasn't having that with fashion. So I posted a couple of videos and they got like 7 views. I was like, well, this is not going well. And then I just one day decided to make a funny video about things that Russians hear in North America, because the moment you say that your first language is Russian, that like people right away ask you the same questions. Like if you say you're cold, they'll ask you why you're so cold. So I made a video about that. I'm sure many of you have seen it. And boom, overnight it took off. And then I realized that this is actually a really unique niche. And I had seen a couple of people, or like a few people do. Like I remember there was a guy who was doing like an Arab cultural comedy style. There was quite a few people who were doing like the Eastern European cultural comedy. They were doing all sorts of cultural comedy, American cultural comedy, stuff like that. Then even, if you think of Russell Peters, he's been doing cultural comedy for a long time, right? So I was like, whoa, this is actually a really cool niche that you could focus on. So I started focusing on that and people loved it. People kept coming on my page. It started to blow up once I started posting those videos. It's been an up and down journey because of various reasons. There's been times when, like, even right now, I'm going through a time where my engagement is good. My engagement is doing really well, but it's a little bit more stagnant. Like it's not going up. And I've learned that that's sort of a trend. It's a trend that you, no matter what, go through. You go up, then it's stagnant. You go up, it's stagnant. Unless something happens, you go down. But normally it goes up, you're stagnant, up, you're stagnant, up, you're stagnant. There has been times when engagement has been dropping because of algorithm changes or things like that you need to adjust to, that I will probably get into in the next episode because that's like a whole other conversation. What I want to focus on today is, if you're thinking of starting a social media and you don't know where to start, my advice would be figure out what you are like. Like, who are you? Who are you? Your personality. What is it? What do people respond to the most and the best? Let's say you're sitting with your friends, what do people love the most about you? Is it your fashion style? Is it the way you do makeup? Is it the jokes that you crack? Is it the unexpectedly motivational things that you say always? Is it, the knowledge of maybe a certain craft or books that you read or an education that you have that people get fascinated about? Is it something you've done in the past? Identify those things. Like, what is it about you that makes you unique? Because believe me, there are things about you that are really unique. Not to sound too motivational here, but I always say motivational, but I mean, like, not to be like that person but to be that person. Like you really do have unique talents. Even if you think you don't, you do. Are you a photographer? What is it about you that you want to maybe expand more to the world? And then start making content, no matter how cringe you think it is. Doesn't matter. Just allow yourself, no matter how uptight you feel when the camera turns on, no matter how you feel shy in front of it, just do it. Because the best way to get over being shy in front of the camera or to get over the cringiness of things is just to do it. And fun fact, by the way, people will think you're cringe if you think you're cringe. I don't know why, but that's how it works. If you think you're cringe and you put out a video where you're like, oh my God, that was so cringe, people will think you're cringe. If you just do it authentically, people will love it. Works like that in 100% of cases. So identify what it is that you want to put out to the world and start doing it. Don't overcomplicate things. As a matter of fact, if you look at most of my content, the videos that have performed the best, I haven't really put in that much effort into. It's the videos that I just shot on the go. It's the videos that I didn't think too much about. A lot of those videos are the videos that I was like, there's no way this will ever go viral. And then boom, it goes viral. Of course, I have some videos that are a little bit more complex. I have some, brand deals that I've had in the past that were, the video took like a day to edit, just to edit it, right? Like I had to put it together and craft it. And a whole day took just to edit to make sure that it looks perfect. But it's a brand deal. It's different, right? But for content to be put out there and for you to reach an audience or to build an audience, you don't need to think about it that much. You just need to do it. Just do it. Literally, just put your phone, buy a little tripod. You don't need to invest a lot either. Some of the biggest creators that you know out there, all they have is an iPhone and a tripod. Sometimes not even a tripod. Like, these sticky thingies from Amazon. I actually just recently discovered this. I didn't have these. But honestly, all you need is a tripod and an iPhone and you're good to go. So identify the niche that you ideally would like to take or be in and start making content. If it doesn't work, and when I say it doesn't work, I mean you need to give it a while. Don't just give up because your first week of content didn't land or didn't get you the numbers that you wanted it to get you. Don't get discouraged if your first video doesn't go viral, because it won't, likely. Probably your first few won't go viral. You might need to readjust things. But if you stay consistent, and I mean consistent, I'm talking like posting on Instagram every day, at least once on Instagram. And sounds like a lot, but once you get into the habit of making content, you will see a content opportunity anywhere you go. Honestly, sometimes I'm like driving in the car and I'm like, hey, there's this thought I'm having right now. I'm just gonna like share it. And I turn on my phone, turn on my camera, I record it, and boom, content is done. It will become second nature to you. So you need to do almost like a posting schedule for yourself. And you don't have to necessarily be, as strict as like putting in the calendar, or actually, no, you do need to put in the calendar, but you don't need to program every single post to be made. I've never programmed my posts. Just try to tell yourself, okay, every day between, 12 p.m. and 1 p.m., I am making a post and I have my content ready, and do it. Stay consistent for at least a month. Stay consistent for at least a month and then see what happens. At least one post a day, at least 5 stories a day. Although now with the new Instagram algorithm, I don't think you need to necessarily do more than 5, but I would say aim for 5 stories a day. Make them interactive. Make sure that you put the poll stickers. Ask genuine questions you want to know the answer to. Do you drink coffee or tea? I don't know. Think of something. Do a poll. Do Q&As. Even if you have 300 followers, do Q&As. It Doesn't matter. Your friends will support you. And by the way, if you're worried about your friends, like if you're actually worried about your friends judging you, block them. Say, I'm really sorry, but I'm embarking on this journey. I can't handle criticism right now, or I just need to be myself. And if you're afraid of your friends judging you, it might be a good opportunity to somehow either start a brand new account. Eventually they'll find you and they'll make fun of you anyway. And so be it, whatever, who cares? But if you're really, really worried about them, block them. And if they don't understand, first of all, if they make fun of you, are they really your friends? If they make fun of you or they judge you or they tell you, what are you doing? Like, are they really your friends? If this is something that you really want to do and your friends are laughing at you or they think that what you're doing is something that's not serious, you need to audit your friend group. I'm just saying. But, do Q&As, do interactive stories, to go back to the stories here, and post at least 5 stories a day. You will be surprised eventually how easy it'll become for you. Because right now you might be thinking to yourself, oh my God, like how am I going to post so many stories in a day? It'll become second nature, trust me. And if you are at a level where you've already maybe started, but you don't see results or you don't see them as fast as you want to see them, audit, I have to say audit because that's just how it goes. Audit what you're doing. So audit how consistent you are, because most of the time, consistency kills, or lack of consistency, I should say, kills growth. So audit how consistent you are. See what content has historically performed really well and what content is performing very poorly. Do more of the things that have performed well or similar things. Audit what it is that you are doing well and what you're not doing well. What's giving you results, what's not giving you results. Do more of the things that's giving you results. And most importantly, look at how much of your personality and authenticity is out there. Because if you're just doing things, let's say you're a trainer, and let's say you post strictly workouts, and you never, ever, 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 ever address your audience. Like it's just workouts, you sell a program, you don't really shine through your authenticity or your audience. You can still succeed, but I feel like there's much more, or it's a lot more likely that you will succeed if your personality is there. If there's just a bit of that like personal authenticity here and there when you talk to your audience, when they see what you're all about. That's what people are interested in. People are really interested in people. That's just how it goes. And it's almost fair to say that gone are the days of perfectly curated feeds, at least in my experience. Those feeds when you go on the page and everything is like perfectly aesthetic and the person's personality is not even there. Like you never even hear the voice of the person whose page it is. Again, you can still succeed, especially if you're a girl and you're posting like lots of pictures in your bikini or whatever. But although there's like OnlyFans for that. But anyways, you can still succeed. Don't get me wrong. But I think people are drawn to, especially if you want to build a community online, like if you want to have that following that's like, wow, these are like my people. I have such an amazing audience. I have such an amazing following. If you want to have that, you have to make sure that you show up as your authentic self. So figure out who that is, figure out who your authentic self is, and make sure that you let the world know who you are and you talk to them and you show yourself online. This sounds so weird. Show yourself. You know what I mean, though. Make sure that your content is a reflection of who you are, basically. And if it's, something funny, go at it. If it's fashion, if that's your thing, go at it. I've seen people succeed in all of these areas. And it's fun. It's really fun. Now, I focused more on Instagram because that is the platform that I have become the most successful at. And it's the platform that speaks to me the most. I really love Instagram. I've obviously started this podcast and it's on YouTube now. And I'm trying to learn a little bit more about YouTube and how that works and other podcasting platforms. But I would say no matter what it is, if you are thinking of putting out content, into the public and showing yourself to the public, whether it's from educational perspective, fashion, again, whatever it is, just pick a platform that you really love and learn more about it. And if it wasn't Instagram, then this whole episode can just, no, just kidding. I was like, if it wasn't Instagram, then this whole episode was a waste for you. It wasn't. It still wasn't, because you need Instagram. Honestly, you need all of those platforms. I've come to realize you need eventually. Maybe you don't need YouTube if you're not putting out content, long form content like podcasts or vlogs or anything like that. But I feel like you need Instagram, is all I'm trying to say. Maybe I'm being biased because that's the platform that I see the most success in for so many people. But I also know people who are very successful on all platforms. I know people who have a lot more of a focus on one platform than the other. So I guess just think of a platform that you want to focus on and focus on it and put yourself out there. Don't be afraid, because, I mean, why would you be afraid? What's the reason? Life's too short. Here I go on a motivational speech again. Life's too short. Just do it. Just literally do it. And listen, even if you're afraid, just do it through fear. It's not the end of the world. It's not going to kill you. It could bring you a lot more to be grateful for and a lot more exciting things in life, because if that is something that you want to do and you follow what it is that you want to do, that's what it usually does. Thank you so much for tuning this unexpectedly philosophical and motivational episode. I hope I brought you some tips and some, basic things for starting a social media. And I think that's all I got. I think I better go make that salad. Oh my God, it is literally like I'm overdue for making that salad. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I think one of my cameras just died. I really appreciate your support. If you like this episode, make sure you comment, hit the like button, you know the spiel, and stay blessed. I will see you next week.